Imagine making $26 million a single year. You have generational wealth, global fame, and an empire at your fingertips. Now imagine risking federal prison for a payout that wouldn't even cover your monthly car insurance. The FBI just dismantled a massive La Cosa Nostra gambling syndicate, arresting 34 individuals. The targets were not street hustlers. They were NBA head coaches and star players. Today, we expose the exact psychological trap that turns untouchable billionaires into desperate pawns. From rigged poker tables to the locker room text messages that ended careers. To understand the sheer magnitude of this federal takedown, you have to look closely at the math. It simply does not add up. During a game on March 23, 2023, then Charlotte Hornets player Terry Rozier allegedly faked an injury just 9 minutes into the first quarter. He intentionally benched himself. The reason? To allow his co-conspirators to place highly profitable insider prop bets on the under. But here is the glaring, undeniable paradox. Terry Rozier has made over $160 million in his career. The potential winnings from these illicit underground prop bets are mere fractions of a single % of his total net worth. Why would an elite athlete currently playing for the Miami Heat and earning massive seasonal contracts risk a lifetime ban and federal indictment for absolute pocket change? It defies every single law of self-preservation. This was not a brilliant financial heist. It was the beginning of a terrifying psychological descent that ends in total ruin. As NBA legend Charles Barkley pointed out during a heated television broadcast, trying to win $50,000 when you are making $26 million is entirely illogical. Barkley argued passionately that this was not a sophisticated criminal enterprise, but rather an act of pure, unadulterated stupidity. Under no circumstances can you safely fix professional basketball games in the modern era of high-definition cameras, advanced metrics, and endless statistical tracking. Yet these players willingly handed their freedom over to 4 of the 5 historic New York crime families. If it was not for the money, what was the true motive? The answer is not greed. It is a highly calculated psychological framework, engineered by the underworld to trap high net worth individuals. And the trap begins far away from the basketball court. It starts where these athletes feel the most invincible. Before the underground games even begin, the mafia engages in a highly sophisticated grooming process. They do not approach NBA stars in dark alleyways. They operate in the most exclusive, hyper-luxurious environments imaginable. They silently infiltrate VIP lounges, private jet hangars, and elite charity galas. The goal is to normalize their presence. To the athletes, these mob associates simply appear as successful, highly connected businessmen who happen to enjoy the high roller lifestyle. They offer the players exclusive access, rare investments, and a taste of a secretive world that money alone cannot buy. This carefully constructed illusion of elite brotherhood is designed to disarm the athletes completely. By the time the invitation to a private poker game is finally extended, the players do not see it as a criminal proposition. They view it as a harmless extension of their own untouchable, luxury-driven reality. The psychological softening is complete. The sweeping FBI investigation included Operation Zen Diagram and the meticulously planned Operation Nothing But Bet. While the mainstream media focused entirely on the basketball court, the real trap was silently set at the card table. Organized crime relies on a ruthless hierarchy to operate efficiently. They use prominent, trusted figures like Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups and former guard Damon Jones as bait. In the criminal underworld, these famous athletes are referred to as face cards. Their sole purpose is to leverage their pristine celebrity status to lure incredibly wealthy victims into private poker games. who would pass up the rare opportunity to play cards with a legitimate NBA legend? But these targets, known strictly as fish, have no idea they are walking into a meticulously designed slaughterhouse. The FBI discovered that these underground games were heavily rigged using advanced cheating technology, including manipulated shuffling devices and sophisticated X-ray tables. The face cards sit at the table, creating a brilliant illusion of prestige and fairness, while the mob mathematically drains the fish of their millions. But how do organized crime families force untouchable sports icons to do their dirty work in the first place? Analyst Kenny Smith offered a much darker and far more accurate diagnosis. Addiction. Gambling is fundamentally an extension of a professional athlete's inherent, uncontrollable hyper-competitiveness. When you earn tens of millions of dollars a year, ordinary human thrills simply vanish. Spending $100 feels like tipping a waiter. To feel any psychological rush whatsoever, these elite athletes are forced to raise the stakes to astronomical, unsustainable levels. They bet massive amounts because they want to win big, and inevitably, they lose big. When a player hits a catastrophic losing streak through legal channels, panic sets in. They cannot exactly go to a traditional bank to finance their underground sports losses. Instead, they turn to illegal bookmakers who offer the ultimate temptation: unlimited lines of credit. Credit is the absolute poison pill of the underworld. The very second an athlete accepts that illegal line of credit, they cross an invisible, permanent threshold. They are no longer global superstars with massive shoe deals. They are vulnerable debtors to highly dangerous, unforgiving organizations. The addiction violently strips away their logical thought processes, rendering their elite financial status completely irrelevant. To the mafia, athletes with gambling addictions are simply easy prey. Once the mob has its hooks in, the financial mechanics shift into overdrive. The syndicate had to move astronomical sums of money without alerting federal authorities. The criminal operations spanned aggressively across 11 U.S. states, focusing heavily on illegal sports betting and highly sophisticated money laundering. To evade detection, the illicit proceeds from these fraudulent prop bets were heavily laundered through complex cryptocurrency conversions. It was a modern, purely digital evolution of classic organized crime. They utilized decentralized exchanges and offshore servers to completely obfuscate the bloodline of the money. The mafia had successfully merged old-school extortion tactics with new-age financial technology. The sheer scale of the laundering network proved that this syndicate was preparing to systematically bleed the NBA dry for years to come. But their digital arrogance blinded them to a fatal analog vulnerability. Their fatal flaw was relying on a mechanical betting concept known as straw bettors. Because sportsbooks have strict financial limits on how much money can be wagered on obscure prop bets, the syndicate could not drop a massive sum all at once. They had to hire multiple lower-level associates to place smaller, identical bets to maximize their illicit profits. This strategy required widening their operational net, and in the criminal underworld, widening the net is always a death sentence. The more people involved in the scheme, the higher the mathematical probability that someone will break under pressure. And someone finally did. The FBI successfully utilized a confidential informant who operated deep inside the ring. This phantom source participated in the rigged poker games and meticulously recorded over 3,000 calls and secret meetings with the targets. The trap had finally snapped shut, revealing the true nightmare behind the scenes. We now arrive at the ultimate, terrifying truth behind the $160 million trap. When an athlete fakes an injury or intentionally shaves points in a professional game, they are not doing it to earn a quick, greedy payout. They are doing it because they are literal financial hostages. Former mob boss Michael Franzese explained the brutal mechanics of this extortion. An athlete, completely blinded by their addiction, gets into a street bookmaker for $50,000. The bookie purposely does not collect immediately. They let the athlete dig the hole much deeper, allowing the debt to artificially swell to $300,000. Then, the real trap is sprung. The player is called into a private room and introduced to the actual boss. They are coldly informed that they must now pay an exorbitant cash interest rate, often 2% every single week, just to stay alive. Inevitably, the athlete cannot keep up with the compounding payments. When they default, the mob offers them a sinister alternative. The mafia dictates the exact terms. Take yourself out of the game in the first quarter. The player completely complies, deliberately tanking their own performance, trading their legacy for survival. The fallout from Operation Nothing But Bet was absolute and immediate. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch publicly confirmed the intentional injury deception and the sprawling coordination with underworld co-conspirators. This scandal exposes a fatal, rotting crack in the very foundation of modern professional sports. As Shaquille O'Neal noted, the league brings in security experts every single year to warn players about the exact dangers of underground gambling. The athletes have all the information, the elite training, and the vast resources to avoid this exact scenario. Yet, the intoxicating allure of the risk continues to override all logic. As legal sports betting integrates further into the fabric of daily life, the access to total ruin has never been easier. The line between the pristine hardwood of an NBA arena and the dark, violent reality of organized crime has been permanently blurred. In the end, these elite athletes truly believed they were untouchable kings of the court, only to discover far too late that in the underworld, they were nothing more than easily manipulated pawns.